Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. So you've started your business, but now you're like, oh, I'm a little overwhelmed and I don't know how to do all the accounting side, or I don't know how to do a lot of the back office stuff. And so we talk about human resources, we talk about talent acquisition, we talk about marketing, and you're not quite sure, like the business has started, but now what? Well, today's your day because we have a special guest in the house that is going to talk about that. So Gabrielle Mills, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you, Sharice, for having me, and for everyone listening. Thank you so much for letting me talk with you guys today. So my company Sourced, we do back office support for small to mid-market companies. We started this from the ground up. We had no idea what we were doing, no experience in this whatsoever. When I say we, I am actually in business with my mom. I am a mom and I am in business with my mom. And we have grown this sucker from nothing. And so we first started with 3 services, all on the fractional side. So we have an accounting firm in-house. We have an in-house marketing agency. We do fractional administrative support, so typically like VAs. And then about 3 years in, we decided to add a full-time direct hire talent acquisition to our suite of services. That came by way of a client needing us to do it. And we just said, okay, and we can go into that story a little later. And then our most recent service, which we launched about 2 years ago, is outsourced HR. So we are 5 businesses under one umbrella.
That is a lot, especially if you didn't have experience in that. So tell me, how did you get into it if you didn't have the experience?
So my mom, who I refer to as Chrissy at work, we knew we wanted to start a business pretty early on. I was just coming out of college. She was always a student of business. She's loved business. She's run them, small ones, big ones. And when I told her that I wanted to go into entrepreneurship, she was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that too. And I was like, well, let's do this together. I don't want to do this by myself. So we didn't have a plan or an idea. So we did what every aspiring entrepreneur does, which is we first started looking for franchises. So can we just buy into a model that exists and become profitable on the franchise side? And we started with some criteria of what we wanted. We knew we wanted to be B2B. We knew we wanted to have a team of people, that we wanted recurring revenue. We wanted it to be a little bit recession resistant, which proved out at COVID. And we wanted it to be fun. Like there's so many great businesses out there that make a ton of money and they're extremely lucrative. But I wanted to get up in front of the room and be a little bit different. So after 6 years of looking for a franchise, we didn't find anything that met that criteria in the way that we wanted to. So we just decided that we were either going to let the dream go, which we're not women that do that, or we do it ourselves. And so our bright idea was to go to business owners and talk about where they're underserved and what they needed. And we just did what they asked. And that's kind of where Sourced got started, was asking people where they needed help. We put a bunch of their answers on a whiteboard and built the model from there.
I love that. I love that you just decided to do it and that you thought through it as well, though. Like, what do we want to accomplish? What does our business look like that we want to have? And so you actually thought through it and planned it and then fixed a need, right?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship, first of all, is not for the faint of heart. It is extremely, extremely difficult and very hard, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners know. You have to go into it with some strategy and thinking about things. And if nothing else, you're choosing to spend your precious, valuable, non-renewable time doing something that deserves your attention and that deserves some strategy. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like there's no pressure of, if I put all so much into it, it's gotta return or whatever. There's always ways that you can make things successful. But I wouldn't know how to do it any other way without thinking through.
How do you get your clients?
So a lot of our clients, most of our clients, all come through word of mouth and referral. I spent the first 5 years of the business just pounding the pavement. I mean, I went to every networking meeting that I could. I was just doing sales all the time. And we were lucky to bring on a lot of clients in the beginning who just referred us to their friends, and their friends became clients. And then those friends referred us to their friends who became clients. And that's how we've grown. Our business has grown now to where that's tapped out, and we are bringing on salespeople to do more traditional sales. And we're frankly relearning what sales looks like in the business now because we've leveled up. And every time you level up, you kind of have to relearn everything.
Yeah, you do. So starting out, obviously you just out of college or young and naive, and so you don't have a lot of, I don't know, I feel like people who are younger, they have a lot more get-go because they haven't been formed and oh, you can't do this, you can't do this. You just like you're gonna do it. So what have you learned that you wish you would have known starting out?
Oh my gosh. What do I wish I would have known early then? So much. I am really glad that I was green and I hadn't built my family yet. That gave me a lot of freedom. That gave me, I was able to, I started my career in a corporate job, loved that corporate job, ended up leaving it at 26 to move into my mom's basement to start Sourced.
Oh, wow.
And so, being young, I had the freedom to be able to do that. I got rid of my apartment, I got rid of all of my bills, and I was supported in that way. If I were to be doing it now, obviously my decisions and thoughts on what things would look like would be a little bit different than just like, I'm just going to go and do this. So it gave me a lot of freedom, but I had no idea how to run a business. And Chrissy and I, we knew business. We knew more established business, but small business is a different animal in and of itself. Starting something from the ground up is a different animal in and of itself. We had to relearn everything and or relearn how to apply what we knew. And gosh, what would be the one thing that I think the biggest thing that we struggled with was um, scalable, repeatable systems.
Mm.
That's really been the game changer to scale our business now that we attempted, but we didn't enforce well early on. We prioritized culture, which I believe you should do. Absolutely, you should prioritize culture, but we did it to our detriment.
Mm.
And our systems that we had sort of built, but not tested because we were new at things,
Mm.
ended up not being as ironclad as they should have been because we were too busy trying to make a really good culture and we weren't enforcing the systems. So
Interesting.
I think that would have been some nice perspective for me to have going in. But honestly, knowing anything more than I did would have been great.
Yeah, that's that's good that you said that. And I think there is a fine line because you want people to enjoy things, but they also have to follow the rules. Like, as a realtor, I have several properties, a landlord, and you go do your inspections and you're like, yeah, you need to fix that, or yeah, you need to do that. I wish I would have, you need to fix this by this time, or I'm going to hire someone, have them do it. Because when
Yes.
they move out, you're never going to recoup that cost. But while they're living there, they're either going to pay it and fix it, or they're going to move out
Right.
because,
Right.
it's not
Things
okay.
come, I was really sensitive and I am still sensitive to business and personal can live and coexist
Mm.
peacefully. I don't believe that you leave it all at the door and your life just stops. I to an extent I do, but I think we're all humans and whether we walk through certain doors or not, we are who we are. But we just over rotated on the personal side a little too much that when it comes to business, there is a lot more black and white, not because we want to, we have to, that people won't be able to keep their jobs because we'll lose clients because they're unhappy because we're not following procedures. And like there's a lot of layers to that that I think is getting lost in having a really good culture and people loving where they work. But there's you got to fall to the level of some kind of standard. And we didn't do a good job at setting those early on.
Mm. So with this, like your five different businesses under one umbrella, do you hire the people like for the accounting? Do you take care of the accounting or do you connect them with somebody that takes care of the accounting?
Great question. We do the first. So our two biggest competitors do the second, where they matchmake people.
Mhm.
Very great business model. It works for them. We started that way where we were basically matchmakers. And what we learned for us, and again, our competitors do a really great job at this. I just could not figure it out. We lost a lot of quality control when we did it that way.
Mhm.
And we found everyone was doing things differently, and it was really difficult to provide backup support and be able to make sure the quality was happening in the way that we were promising on the sales side. So we switched to be more of a firm approach. So we do hire all of our own people. They are our people. The only exception to that is in talent acquisition, we're hiring on behalf of somebody else. So obviously that
Yeah.
candidate goes on to the employer. But no, our team has, I think our most of our team has been with us for years and years, some almost since the beginning. Um, and so they're the same people doing the same thing. We just add on clients and every client is a little bit different, but again, we have the same standard ways of doing things where we can nuance our standard to make sure it fits that business to get them what they need. But yeah, we found that it's a much better model for us.
I love that. So, what kind of impact are you hoping to have on businesses that, I mean, what's the legacy you're wanting on other entrepreneurs to leave?
Mhm. It's a great question. So right now in this stage of my business, the business is running well on its own, and I've got a little bit more freedom to pursue my passions, which are helping entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs start and scale their companies. So I get to do that, and my business help supports me in that. So I right now spend a lot of my time speaking to entrepreneurs, founders, operators, owners, business leaders on how to scale their businesses. And I really think that's where my calling lies now. I've done it a few times over the in my business, and then I see the inside of other people's businesses. I see a lot of challenges that they have. And so it gives me a unique perspective to be able to go out into the world and teach people how to do this.
So, what do you find are the biggest struggles when you go out to speak? First of all, where do you speak?
I do. I go to a lot of like associations and I mostly to entrepreneurs right now, and usually they gather at specific associations. I
Okay.
do a lot of podcast guesting, just like I'm doing here today. I just did an interview, more like a fireside chat last night. So I do all sorts of stuff. And it's a lot of give back at this point.
Cool. Any chamber?
Yes.
Now, what are you finding are the biggest challenges in today's market for entrepreneurs?
Okay, I was like, I thought there was another
Yeah,
question in there.
there was.
Um,
Wanted
the interesting thing about business is that we all have the same buckets of challenges, but how they manifest are different.
Mhm.
So, every single business, every single one has a need for sales.
Yeah.
So it's whether you're starting out or whether you're 50 million, everybody is talking about sales. How do we get more sales? How do we get more predictable sales? How do we get new sales? How do we expand our existing sales? It's all about sales. So that's one area that is very, very common plight. Another is hiring. How do I find good people? Where are they? What we find is not in the hiring. The hiring is fine. It's how you're managing them. And that is a very delicate issue because that's not what people think the problem is.
Yeah.
So that's a common problem. And then right now, it's not so much a problem, is there's just a giant question mark around AI and technology and how is that going to change my business? And what does that mean for the state of my business, how I'm operating in the business? What do I use it for? So those are kind of some things that are cropping up right now.
It's so true. I know a lady, she spent over $75,000 on coaches teaching her about AI because she's a coach and she wants to go teach her client,
Yeah.
her students. So AI is a big piece. It's crazy how much it
Mhm.
can help. Like we're planning a trip and I said, okay, write me an agenda and boom, it's
Yes, yes, but it's even bigger than that.
oh
So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
encourage founders to be like, okay, you can I use my chat GPT as like my thought strategist, right? So I think a lot of people use it for planning and writing emails and bouncing things ideas off of or therapy or whatnot. Last week I went to a seminar about AI, an all-day seminar, and they blew my mind of what is already out there and what AI can do that could totally wipe out people's entire businesses if people don't figure out how they're going to use AI to streamline their businesses, reduce cost, how that changes the business. So it's, I think what I end up talking about, not because I'm an expert, I'm more wondering in front of people because nobody knows what AI is going to do is we're all having the same struggle of what is going to happen,
Hmm.
in this new AI space.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so let's switch gears for a second because our time's almost up. And I
That's
want
okay.
to talk about motherhood because you started this business without kids, and as you're scaling, you have kids. So how was that?
Extremely difficult. Um, I was busy and stressed before I had kids, and then I had kids, and I was like, what was I actually doing? So, for context, I have two children. Camden is 3. He was born in 2022. And then 4 months later, I found out I was pregnant with my second,
Oh,
Grace.
wow.
And so in
Wow.
business, there's in small business, it's not like you get maternity leave. I had to figure out maternity leave for myself for the first one.
Mhm.
Luckily, I'm in business with my mom, so like it was possible and we did it.
Yeah.
But then I had to do it the next year, and then all of my problems, they're not problems. My business problems doubled because it was probably 2023 was one of the hardest years of my life, just trying to figure out how to be a parent of two babies. I mean, they're Irish twins almost. Camden wasn't walking and talking when I had my other one. And then I still have this business that I have poured almost a decade of my life into. We've scaled it nationally and have over 45 people across the country. I'm not just going to be like, okay, I'm out.
Mhm.
So it's very difficult and I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
No, so they're still pretty young building this. And I remember those days, and it can be hard. I enjoy it though, because they're so cute and only little one time, and then they grow up.
I know. I almost hate that I had them so close together. One, because it's difficult, but it goes by so much faster
Mhm.
that for my daughter, I don't really even remember a lot of her first year because it was just such a whirlwind. And I'm like, oh, I missed out. I wish I could have done this more slowly to like
Yeah.
draw out just
Mhm.
enjoying motherhood, which I really do. But I'm also a person that I wouldn't do well being a stay-at-home mom. I think that that is the hardest job in the world, and the women that do that, I just give all the credit to because I could not. I need an outlet. I love to work. I feel very fulfilled working, and so I've had to find balance of like I want to slow it down, but at the same time I need a break so I can go work and actually feel like I'm filling up my own cup.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you. I always wanted to be the stay-at-home mom. When I got there, I'm like, okay.
It's the hardest
But
job in the world.
it is, and I admire people that do it. I know this one lady that her husband went to work, then she was up and ready, makeup on, everything. She goes, if my husband's going to work, so am I. And my work just happens to be taking care of the house. And I thought that's a great way to look at things. I could never do that, but good job.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's done that her whole life, ever since she was married. So it is a different world, but at the same time, your kids, I mean, isn't it life-changing? Super worth it.
It's the best thing I've ever done. I
Yeah.
was really scared to have kids because the narrative around having children is really negative, or at least it is in my circle of there's a lot of people choosing to not have kids,
Yes, there are.
or they're choosing their careers over planning their families, which look, that's fine. I get people live their lives differently, but I was really scared going into it, knowing that I wanted to be a mom because I had this business. I
Mm.
didn't want to give up my career. And there wasn't, I didn't know people who were building a business and being a mom at the same time. I don't have anybody in in my sphere that was like that. So it was terrifying for me. I was like, how am I, is my life going to change? Are they really as bad as people think that they say or that they say they are? But it's the best thing I've ever done. I can't believe I waited so long to do it. And they're just, they're my whole world.
And you change as a person. Like, and for those that are choosing not to have kids that are listening, it's Mompreneurs is the podcast. So I'm assuming you're a mom, right? But you are a different person. Like I can see people who have had kids and the type of person they are versus people who have never had kids. And there is a difference because you have to give up your whole life to raise these cute little human beings. And like a hug from my daughter is, I've never taken Prozac in my life, but I'm going to use it as like it's an entire 30-day supply. I mean, it's just, there's such a difference and it's so worth it.
Absolutely is. It absolutely is.
So, what advice would you give a new mom? Because you're still in that really new stage. So, what advice would you give? Like, think back 2 years or 3 years ago. Actually, I guess four. That's when you found out you're pregnant.
Yeah, I'm going to give the advice that my mom gave me when Grace was just born. So to picture what my life was like, I had a 1-year-old and freshly one, fresh, not walking, like starting like first steppy kind of thing, couldn't talk, still like taking like purees, like fresh. And then I have a newborn that I'm breastfeeding. I'm on maternity leave. And I'm thinking, actually, it was after maternity leave, she gave me this advice. I'm coming back to work. And I asked her, I was like, I'm not ready. I need to take more time. And so I came back part-time. Didn't really work all that well because I'm a full-time person.
Yeah.
Um, and I just was so overwhelmed with the expectations on myself and the person I wanted to be as a mom and the person I wanted to be as a business owner and the things that I wanted to accomplish in my career. And I was trying to do it all at the same time. And she gave me probably the best advice I've ever gotten as a mom, which is to just do whatever's easiest. You have to do all of these things, but you don't have to do them all well. Just do whatever's the easiest thing. So if you just need to feed your children. If you order a pizza or make them mac and cheese for the third day in a row, at least they're fed. If you have to get these emails out, and yes, we want them to be as perfect as possible, but if that is not what you have to give, just get them out anyway. Just do it, all the things, check off all the boxes, but do it in the easiest way that's possible until you're through this survival period. And that gave me permission to do all the things, but not do them all in the way that I wanted to have happen or the expectations that I had happen. It gave me an ability to be like, okay, I don't have a choice. I have to do all these things, but I do have the choice and I'm just going to get it done and I'm not going to worry about how it looks or how it is or how it feels or what other people are doing. And I'm just going to do it in the way that I can manage at this time.
That is fantastic advice because it takes the pressure off too. And you're probably still doing a phenomenal job, but the pressure to be the greatest or the perfectionist that you probably are, that it's okay. You know,
Mhm.
you're just,
I am my mom and I have a running joke that we're C plus moms. That we're not bad moms, but we're not the ones that are like um no shade to this. I actually really admire women that do this. This is why I say we're C plus moms. That we're not the ones that are doing the homemade bake sale people, PTA. Can't we don't have enough time to do that. Our kids go to school because she's got two kids too. She adopted two out of foster care, so she's got young kids as well. Our kids go to school in some weird outfits that they picked out, whatever. They're
yeah.
dressed. So like we're just doing we just laugh and we're like, we're not bad moms, we're just C plus moms.
Mhm. And your kids still love you just as much.
They
So,
do. They
yeah,
do.
it's good. Well, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
So that you guys can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can find me at gabrielle.speaks on any of those platforms. Or you can check out my website, which is getsourced.com, SOURCED. I'm easy to find. Gabrielle Mills. Put a Google on me and you'll find me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cherise. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was. And Unbreakable Moms, get outsourced. That's okay to get some help wherever it may be. So if it might be as a mother because you're having a hard time juggling things, or if it's my business, I want to take a step back and I want to outsource some of the stuff so I don't have to do it all. I'm totally feeling like that right now. So it's okay to get help, and you should, because you shouldn't do it on your own. So go out and make it a great day. And please like, subscribe, and share. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Cherise Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Cherise Walker.